Welcome, welcome. I am Dena, and this is Discussion with Dena. Recently, President Joe Biden announced a policy that offers spouses of U.S. citizens without legal status a path to citizenship.
It is being called one of the most significant actions to protect immigrants in years. President Biden granted far-reaching new protections for hundreds of thousands of undocumented immigrants looking for a path towards citizenship in the United States. The president announced his administration would allow certain undocumented spouses of U.S. citizens to apply for permanent residency without first having to leave the country.
That means that illegals who came to America illegally without following or regarding the laws set up for legal citizenship, that is, whether they came themselves or were brought here by parents or others against the law that is in place for citizenship, that he has given them a path to legal citizenship. Those who meet certain criteria, Joe Biden has given them a path. And the path to citizenship is to start by applying for a green card and staying in the U.S. while undergoing the process. Now, this is traditionally done when the person would go back outside of the U.S. and wait a year or years for this to happen. Now, the U.S. doing this is causing what some advocates conveniently equate to being family separation. Others equating it to essentially a form of amnesty for people who have broke the law.
A Texas judge has temporarily blocked the Biden administration from granting legal status to immigrant spouses of U.S. citizens. It effectively brings a halt to a large immigration program that opened last week to an estimated 500,000 migrants living in the U.S. without legal status. The program, known as Keeping Families Together, allows unauthorized immigrants to apply for temporary work permits and deportation protections under an immigration benefit known as parole. They are married to U.S. citizens, lived in the country for at least 10 years, and pass background checks.
And yes, this is, of course, an election year, and illegal immigration is a major issue of concern. But NPR reports that a federal judge by the name of J. Campbell Barker, who was appointed by former President Donald Trump in 2019, in Tyler, Texas, lies in the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. This judge on Monday paused the Biden administration's policy that would give spouses of U.S. citizens legal status without having the illegal spouse to first leave the country. It is but a temporary setback to what is meant to be one of the biggest presidential actions as of today to set a path to citizenship for those who are illegal and considered illegal in this country. Now, this administrative stay issued by the U.S. District Court Judge J. Campbell Barker comes next after 16 states, led by Republican Attorney General, changed the program that would affect an estimated 500,000 illegal immigrants. Those are just the ones that we know are illegal, but not just them, but also their offsprings, which is estimated at currently about 50,000. Now, the states are accusing the administration of bypassing Congress for blatant political purposes. And that is a good question and something to consider. It further shows how the administration has the ability to help whom it chooses and conveniently when it chooses. Election time. Now, leading the challenge is Texas, whom in the lawsuit claimed that the state has had to pay tens of millions of dollars annually from healthcare to law enforcement because of illegal immigrants living in the state without having a legal status. The program was announced in June by President Biden, and the court order, which lasts for 2 weeks but could be extended, comes 1 week after the Department of Homeland Security began accepting applications. In order to be eligible for this program, Illegal immigrants must have lived continuously in the U.S. for at least 10 years, not pose a security threat, or have a disqualifying criminal history, and have been married to a citizen by June 17th, the day before the program was actually announced. They must also pay a $580 fee to apply and fill out a lengthy application, including an explanation of why they feel that they deserve humanitarian parole and a long list of supporting documents proving how long they have actually been in this country illegally. If approved, applicants must have 3 years to seek permanent residency. During that period, they can get work authorization. Now, Judge Barker wrote in his order that the claims are said to be substantial and warrant closer consideration than the court has been able to afford to date. And it makes sense. I certainly wish that we, Black people, descendants of slaves in America, had those that would advocate this hard for us when it comes to our needs, our concerns, and what is owed to the descendants of slaves from America, especially when regarding reparation. Just as we have so many in political office that champion other groups and boldly sign bills and legislations on their behalf, like in this example for illegals, people who broke the law entering the country that we built, it would be nice to have those that fought champion for us as well. But Judge Baker also laid out a timetable that could produce a decision shortly before the presidential election, which is November 5th, or before a newly elected president takes office in January. Barker has given both sides until October 10th to file briefs in this case. Republicans, along with many others, blame the 3-year border crisis directly on the Biden administration's policies, claiming that the administration rolled back Trump-era policies and encouraged illegal immigrants to flood into the country. But many of us witnessed this for ourselves. Now there is a new report from the Mississippi State Auditor that estimates that its state's spending over $100 million on illegal immigration annually. Now the governor of the state now directly is blaming it on an intentional failure by the Biden-Harris administration to secure the border. Mississippi Republican Governor Tate Reeves told Fox News that states are being forced to step up and pay for Biden-Harris administration's intentional failure to secure the borders, and that his state of Mississippi is no exception to this. He further stated that it's clear that Kamala Harris isn't up to fixing the administration's self-inflicted problems at the border. She's been a disaster as a border czar, he said, and is actually making the situation worse, he is quoted as saying. Now, the report by the Mississippi State Auditor found that at least 22,000 illegal immigrants are in the state. And analysts estimate that it costs taxpayers over $100 million annually, with more than $25 million to educate illegal immigrants in public school alone. Now, taxpayers are said to be spending $77 million to provide health care for illegal immigrants and their children, and another $1.7 million to incarcerate illegal immigrants that are found to be or in criminal activity. Mississippi's illegal immigration problem is spiraling out of control, he said, and it is costing taxpayers millions of dollars. And this was said by State Auditor Shad White. Our public schools, hospitals, and prisons will continue to lose massive sums of money and funding that could have been spent on our own citizens. Now, the number is just an estimate because specific data is not always available, and the report notes that the Mississippi Department of Education is barred from collecting any information that reveals citizenship instead. So it used data from the University of Mississippi to do an approximate or an estimate. and 2,500 illegal immigrants are attending public schools. It also accounts for extra spending that is needed in English language courses and learners and low-income student supplements. Now, the report also found that approximately 50% of illegal immigrants have no health care coverage, and 38% use emergency medical services for their primary care. It also notes that the cost of birth to illegal immigrants and the cost of Medicaid for children that are born to illegal immigrants, the cost that they obtain from that. Now, the report states that due to the limited amount of reliable data, that the actual spending could be much, much higher. Also, I have noted that in Massachusetts, there is a group of children that are without bus service because they're using the funds for busing migrants. 150 students at Stockton Public Schools will have to find a new way to get to school ahead of the academic year's September 4th start date. Now, the Boston Herald first reported this news, and it comes at the same time that the state has started paying for buses for students. More than 200 migrant families that have recently moved into that community. Parents and students of a school district outside of Boston were informed last week that they would be without school bus service, citing a lack of school buses being available due to funding and a shortage of buses.
Over 100 students in a district outside of Boston will have to find a new way to get to school in September. They won't have bus service due to a shortage. This comes as the state started paying for buses for migrant students who families recently moved into their community.
Really? Over 160 more students applied for bus transportation compared to that of the previous year. And these students have received a letter that was sent to their parents from the superintendent of school, Joseph Dena, that reads, those families not receiving bus transportation were notified this week. Those receiving bus transportation will receive their bus postcards the week of August 19th in the mail, stating that because of budget restraints, the district has one less bus than the year before. So now we're sacrificing services to those people who pay taxes. He is letting them know that unfortunately for the upcoming 2024-25 school year, 150 secondary students who sign up to ride a bus are not going to be able to ride the bus. So what are these tax-paying people supposed to do? Because when you get your annual taxes, that school tax is usually the highest one that you pay. It is high as hell. So they will not be able to utilize these benefits that your tax dollar pay for. However, people who do not and have not paid taxes will be utilizing those funds for their benefits. There is no requirement in the state of Massachusetts to provide transportation for students in grades 7 through 12, but the district is required to provide busing to students living in hotels and shelters. Imagine that.
This is happening at the same time in Massachusetts. Your migrant population the last 4 years has grown exponentially since 2021. 355,000 living in Massachusetts, 50,000 new arrivals, 10,000 children. Again, these are all migrant children. And from what I understand as well, that there's bus service set up for these illegal immigrants. So you're losing bus service, they're gaining bus service.
And finally, the Democratic supermajority lawmakers in California are busy planning to make California the first in the country to give money to undocumented illegal immigrants and making them eligible for up to $150,000 in state-supported home loans. What's that you say about punishing people who break America's law? I guess that's just gibberish that only applies to actual law-abiding citizens of America. If you come here illegally and break the laws, here's a big reward for you. You can own a piece of America. Now that is a good commercial that should be made who would not be encouraged to come here legally. The benefits are there. The system actually works for you. So do not talk to youth about a person who breaks the law in America and running for office or any other thing else, because here is further proof laws are made only to be enforced upon certain groups and certain individuals at certain times. And forget all that crap about teaching or preaching about doing what is right and lawful here in America. The law is used and enforced only when it is convenient for some, as we see. The California State Legislature is intending to pass a measure this week that would make undocumented illegal immigrants eligible for the California Dream for All loan program. Wonder who inspired that? A state-funded program that provides 20% in down payment assistance up to $150,000. And this is according to a report from Politico. Participants in the program must be first-time home buyers, and at least one must be a first-generation home buyer, while income levels must be below certain limits depending on the county where the recipient lives. Meanwhile, campaign spokesperson Caroline Levitt for the Trump campaign told Politico the bill is fundamentally unfair, but it is typical Democrat policy. And who could disagree with that? It is what we have come to now know as typical as of these days. Democratic lawmakers in the state defended this legislation. They are arguing that it is simply designed to give undocumented state residents the same benefits afforded to everyone else in the state, except they're undocumented and illegal. It isn't given out willy-nilly to just anybody, Democratic Assembly Member Eloise Gomez-Reyes said during a June hearing on the bill. Notice the people that present these bills and laws on behalf of illegals. People. They are often connected to the benefactors in some form or fashion. Just imagine if Black politicians had the wherewithal and instinct when developing policies, when they are politicians, to keep their former slaves of America in mind, their people in mind. Can we even imagine such Black politicians with the ability to prioritize the needs of their own Black people, their own Black constituents and communities? Wouldn't that really be something and someone worth going to the polls and casting a vote for? Seems that was once the idea. It was once the case, but I guess now it's more of a pipe dream. Now, Democratic Assembly Member Joe Glenn Arambula, who authorized the bill, has stated that at issue, it still requires applicants to meet federal requirements, including either taxpayer identification or social security number to apply for a loan, and further states that there is a federal law preventing undocumented migrants from receiving state benefits without a specific state law outlining their eligibility. Notice there's always an exception written. And there we go. How do we make that make sense? Notice it's always the play on words that we must be mindful of. And I can bet you that we can expect in the very near future that there will be a redefining of what it means to be undocumented, which at this time it means it's not required or proven by documents. It's not having the appropriate legal document or license. You can't make this stuff up. Subscribe and feel free to share your comments on any of the topics of discussion, and join me for another discussion with Dena. Ta-ta!
This concludes your daily discussions with Dena. Join us Monday through Friday at 12:30. Discussions with Dena. Join us Monday through Friday at 12:30. Subscribe and leave a comment.